Hello and welcome back to BocciasBattles with a tutorial on how to use the Pokemon generator or Pokégen. Now, a lot of you people who are new to the competitive Pokemon metagame or just to making Pokemon in general might not have heard of this program. Now, if you haven't heard of it, I'll leave some links to the actual forum where you can download it from. When you've downloaded it, just add it to your taskbar, leave it on your desktop or something. And when you load it up, it will pop up with a box like this. Now, this might look a bit complicated, but it's actually not. So, I'll just go through it for you to try and explain it. So, easiest thing first, species. You literally just click on the species icon, and that's every single species of Pokemon there is. Oh, wow. Everything from A to Z, it's all in alphabetical order, so you're not going to have any issues with Pokédex order or stuff like that, unless you're sad enough to actually remember that. So you just click the Pokemon you want. For this, I'm just going to have a Wingull. Then the next box, you type your nickname. Now, it'll come up with this box here. You could just type it into the keyboard if you want. But the box here comes up with the characters as they appear in the game. So you've obviously got the base characters. Then you've got all the Japanese characters and weird Korean characters and stuff like that. And big letters. So, there you go. That's just an example of using big letters and Japanese characters. Now, remember when you've done the nicknames, if you want to nickname your Pokemon, to tick this tick box, because otherwise the game doesn't register it as a nickname. Which would mean if you obviously want to make it legit, the big letters and the Korean, well, no, that's Chinese text. The Chinese text would make it illegitimate on an English game anyway. But if you want to make a legit Pokemon with a legit nickname, you're going to have to pick that box. Experience is easy. You can either put it in manually. If you know how much experience you want, put it in. Or you can set it to any level. So, you can have anything from level... Well, it could be level 0. You can have level 1 to level 100. And it'll have the amount of experience you'll have. So you can set it to any level. So you can get a Pokemon all the way at level 100 right from the start. Natures are also quite easy. It's another scroll down list. So there's quite a lot of natures you can have. A lot of them are neutral. But if you just hover over, sometimes it's very difficult to get the lineup right. But it will tell you which natures like plus attack, minus defense, plus attack, minus speed. So bear that in mind if you want a specific nature. Held items are really easy. You scroll down. You can get literally every item that's ever been in the games in here. Obviously from Gen 3 onwards. So you can have everything from actual standard items like the Absorb Bulb and Air Balloon to key items like the Amulet Coin, or even ones that you're not actually supposed to get. For example, let me have a look. Data cards, for example, or the Explorer kit. So you can get stuff even from previous generations. It doesn't glitch up your game, but it's not worth getting. So anyway, I'll just get a Chrome. No, Absorb Bulb, right? Then happiness, pretty easy mechanic. A lot of people don't understand it though. Happiness can be a minimum of 0 and a maximum of 255. Don't ask me, ask Game Freak. At 0 happiness, your Pokemon obviously doesn't like you as much. 255, it's very happy with you. However, if you want to make the Pokemon as an egg by ticking this box, it would literally just appear as an egg. Bear in mind, the higher the happiness when it's an egg, the longer it takes to hatch. So if you have a max happiness Pokemon, I think as far as I know, it does 255 times the amount, or 255 times 4 or something, meaning that you're going to be hatching the egg for ages. So if you put 0 in, it will literally hatch just within a couple of steps. Ability is also very simple. You just scroll through the abilities and pick one that you want. Obviously, it can even be an illegitimate ability, for example, huge power, doubling my attack stat. So you have any ability, any item, any nature. Obviously, country, pretty much self-explanatory. Pick the country you want it to come from. And the origin, the game want it to be there. The game you want the game to think it's to come from there. For example, if you want a Venusaur, you might want it from Leaf Green. Whereas you don't want a Charizard that's origin's black too. Obviously, male and female, pretty easy. Click the one. That's what it is. Shiny, if you don't know what a shiny Pokemon is, they're just alternate versions of Pokemon. They spark when they go in battle and look pretty cool. So you can have that shiny if you want, and an egg if you kind of want that as well. So, what else we got? Oh, the origin's Emerald, because that's where it comes from. Pokerus. That can go all the way from 0 to 15. apparently the values don't really matter at all. But the Pokerus is a very, very rare virus sort of condition where if you have it and speak to the nurse, she'll say something about it to you. But it doubles the amount of EVs, and it comes up with a PKRS sign. I don't think you can battle with Pokemon without the Pokerus, but it's supposed to be your party. It's not a bad thing. It actually increases your EXP yield, meaning your Pokemon grow faster. So 15. Obviously the met pick's pretty easy. Which game do you want it to be met on? Ready, set, location, any location in the entire game. So Faro Place. The ball you can have it in, any ball, including the very rare Cherish ball if you want. The fast ball because it's a Wingull. You can pick the level you found it at, so level 1. And this is mainly for Generation 4 purposes, but you can choose where the encounters are. So you can have weird things like Hall of Origin or Giratina or Dialga and Palkia. But and Fateful Encounter, that's very important if you want it to be an event Pokemon. If you want it to be an event Pokemon, you need the Fateful Encounter thing, otherwise the game will not register it as an event. But obviously Wingull is blatantly an event, so we're going to have that. Okay, now stats. This is definitely the hardest bit of the whole lot. But I'm going to try and make it easiest for you. So, obviously we've got the HP attack, defense, special defense, and speed, which are all the stats that the Pokemon can have. Our IVs are a minimum of 0 and a maximum of 31 for each stat. Yet again, I didn't pick that. That was Game Freak. And EVs, effort values, are a minimum of 0 and a maximum of 255 per stat. Although statistically, as I'll explain in a second, 252 is the most viable maximum. Now obviously, as you can see here, this is the standard base level 1 Wingull stats here. So these are the stats you see in your game. Now if you start increasing the IVs, the stats will go up. I mean, IV at level 1 is not going to make much difference, but it's gone up by 1. Now if you're trying to make a Pokemon for competitive purposes specifically, or you want a really, really perfect in-game Pokemon, you're going to be wanting to set all of these to 31, because the higher these are, that's about how perfect your Pokemon is. 0 is probably got the worst you could have, whereas 31 is the best you can have. So in competitive battling, the standard sort of expectation is that all your Pokemon have 31 IVs. Now the next box is EVs, effort values. They can be a maximum of 510 in total, which obviously you could work out as 2 lots of 255. But I just told you that you shouldn't use 255 EVs. This is because for one stat change to occur, you need 4 EVs. For, say for a Wingull, you might want 4 EVs in HP to raise it to the next level. It didn't work like that on the low levels, but say 4 EVs in HP might raise it by 1, or by a certain statistic. So basically, you're going to be wanting to put your EVs on your Pokemon. Whenever you defeat a wild Pokemon, you're getting these EVs. Mystical things, the game doesn't tell you about them, but they make your Pokemon stronger. Now, obviously, you can go ahead and hack it all in to have 252 in every stat, but if you want to actually play the game fairly, or you want to play a competitive game, you're not going to be wanting to do that. So what you're actually going to be wanting to do is keep it to less than 510. The standard EV spread, as such, is 252, 252, 4, because it adds up to 510. Just prove it to you, just in case you don't believe me for whatever reason. Well, it adds up to 508, actually. But obviously, 2 doesn't matter, because you can't use the 2. And obviously, 252 EVs is the maximum you can physically have in the stat. So 31 IVs and 252 EVs, that's the strongest you could possibly be. The only way you can make that stronger is by having a good nature. So, for example, my defense, right? Say if I had a plus defense nature on my Wingull, and it had 31 IVs and 252 EVs, that's physically the best it could be at that level. So that's how you want to have the top tier Pokemon. Right, then obviously you could do manual stats if you want, but that would cause some legitimacy problems, because you can literally just type in whatever you want in there. But that's obviously only if you want to mess around and hack. Hidden power types, that's very complicated, but basically Hidden Power Dark 70 is what you'll have if you have all of your IVs at 31. But the Hidden Power type will change as you change your IVs. So that's Hidden Power Electric 70. So it's best to use a Hidden Power calculator for these sort of things, but the maximum Hidden Power as such is 70. So you're going to be wanting 70. So if you run the move Hidden Power, which changes type based on your IVs, you pick the type that you want, and obviously you want it at 70 base power, so you change your IVs according to that. But do bear aware that changing your IVs will lower your stats, unless you go for Hidden Power Dark. So be aware of that. Oh, I didn't explain the IVs. IVs are randomly encountered when you find a Pokemon. So if you caught 2 Patrats in a row, the first Patrat you had could have had 26 attack. The next one could have had 29 attack. Well, say if they were both adamant nature, okay, so they both had a boosted attack anyway. That explains why that other Patrat could have 3 more attack. It leads to variation between Pokemon in the games. So it means that you don't always OHKO the Pokemon. You know, the Pokemon have a chance against you. It leads it on a more randomised adventure. So that's basically what IVs are. Contest stats, don't bother with them. You put them up to 255. If you're at 255, you're going to appeal the most. That's pretty much it. Attacks is also very easy. You click down to click an attack. So obviously you could do that with up to 4 attacks. Obviously try and go for the legit attacks though. Not like I'm doing where I'm just clicking random ones. Obviously the most important thing in this bit is that you change the PP ups to 3. Unless you're literally setting it as a starter Pokemon. Because that gives you the maximum PP, the maximum usage of that move that you can have. So if you want to use that move a lot of times, say if you if a wild Pokemon or a competitive battle is meaning that your Pokemon is being stalled and worn down, you're going to want more than about 5 PP on the move to try and stall them out. So always put these to 3. Don't change this PP around. Obviously you don't want to lower it. Unless it's maybe like a trump card or something. Unless you're playing just for fun, because obviously if you have more than that amount, you could get banned from the tournament. Now this is probably the easiest bit. You can change your gender from male or female. Now you just put in your in-game details. So say for example, if I go for my white, so I'm male, you put in your trainer ID, which you find on your game. So it's 02686. Just put this one in as the same anyway, unless you know your shiny ID. And my OT, put in your original trainer name, your trainer's name, put that in the box. So that'll be, so it'll say that it's come from your trainer. Extra points, don't bother with that. It's very complicated. Although obviously you can set it to maximum, but you're usually just going to want to keep it the same. Markers, you might have seen these in the games when you tap them. They add like little stars and squares and circles on Pokemon. They're there just for decoration in your status screen. So there we go. I'm just going to add all these. Now the last thing you're going to notice is this, ribbons. So it has every single ribbon that's ever been available. I think that's in Generation 4 only. But even though it's Generation 5, as you've noticed, some event Pokemon, for example Mew, have things like the Premier Ribbon, which is a gift ribbon that means you can't use it online, but shows it comes from a legendary Pokemon event. So that actually means that you can put ribbons on your Pokemon if you're that sort of collecting person. Ready for Generation 6, which might have contests in it. Now, well actually there's one more thing. Well, one more main thing. This is the PID, the Pokemon ID. This is very complicated to use. So if you're trying to make a legitimate shiny Pokemon, well, obviously as legit as possible, the game to count as legit, you're going to have to mess around with PIDs. But normally, if you just want a Pokemon to look shiny and don't care if it looks legit because you just want to battle with your friends or battle on the standard Wi-Fi room and not on random matchup, then that's fine. But you click F to find the PID. Basically what you can do is you can pick, obviously I want Wind Gold, Adamant Nature, pick the gender you want, so either. Most Pokemon have 2 abilities, so just pick either, unless you're very specific. Now, this can change the IVs during the search if you want. But, say for example, if I wanted a Chain Shiny, so I've found this with my Pokeradar, then it will come up with this match. Chain Shiny, Adamant Nature, male gender with its first ability, and it's shiny, and it has a PID. So that would count, obviously, if I set it from Generation 4, as a legit shiny. So I hope you've enjoyed this. And the thing that you're going to bear in mind, if you're playing this legitimately, rather than with the ROM, you're going to need to go to this site right here at PokeGTS.us. Now, it will lead you to Pokemon GTS and Utilities. Now, so you can select Pokemon here if you want, but I prefer to do it this way. You upload a Pokemon from 5th Gen Black or White, and once you've saved your file, you literally just go in here, File, Save Pokemon, just save it as whatever you want. You can literally just browse. So I've got the Smogon sets here, and import a Pokemon to your game. Click Submit, it'll pop up, and then all you need to do is you go into your settings, your internet settings. then you click primary DNS in the settings, then change it to 205.45.29.54. It won't mess up your connection. It's not going to cause any issues. But make sure once you've added that in, test it to make sure it works. And then say if you submit a Pokemon like I have here, go into the GTS, standard GTS, and basically the game, I'm not exactly sure how this works, just gives you that Pokemon for free. So you'll get this level 100 Hardy, light clay set thing, as soon as you go in there. So then your Pokemon is received through the game. And obviously when you're done, if you want to continue going on standard Wi-Fi, you go into your internet settings and then disable the DNS. Okay. However, if you're using it with the ROM, you go File and Open, then you find your ROM file, for example, wild.dst. Sometimes it won't register it, so just pick exactly what it is, know what language it is and what game it is, and it will come up with this, as you can already see. Right, so you've got all the boxes from 1 to 24. Obviously, now I can set this Wingull in an egg to everything in my box. So I can literally have 6 of these Wingulls, and then if I save it, next time I go on my game, I'll have 6 Wingulls in my party. It's that easy. Pretty cool as well. And also you can put them in the box, so it allows you to order your competitor Pokemon or your in-game Pokemon if you're playing on a ROM. So that's it. I hope you enjoyed the tutorial. I hope this has convinced you to get Pokégen if you're interested in making the best Pokemon you can for the contests, or for in-game use or for competitive use. And of course, go into options and target game to change your game if you're using it from a different game as to what you think it is. Example, obviously you're not going to want white Kyurem on black and white because it just won't work. And obviously if you're trying to import to Gen 4, you need to have it as a Gen 4 file. So anyway, until next time, BocciasBattles out, and I hope you've enjoyed this tutorial. Goodbye.